Conservative New Media viewers, what's up? It's me, Paul F. Villarreal, and we're here to discuss Donald Trump's dominating performance on what is being called Super Tuesday 2, or also being called Trump Tuesday, and that is the primaries that took place and caucus on March 15th, 2016. If right now Missouri has been fully counted, and with it counted, Donald Trump won the state by about 1,600 votes over Ted Cruz. However, there's been a report since the polls, everything was counted or tabulated, that there are supposedly two precincts missing from one of the counties, from Jackson County, which is a county in which Ted Cruz performed better than did Donald Trump. Even if those votes weren't still out there, so say that these were whatever, the contest was close enough so that if any of the campaigns want to ask for a recount, like say if Ted Cruz wants to ask for a recount, I believe that can happen. And it could be useful for that to happen if you were Senator Cruz, because I think Missouri is 40 delegates are apportioned based upon congressional district, but whoever wins the state, I think, gets 12 delegates right off the top. So if you're Donald Trump and you get if you win the state and you get plus 12 delegates, well then if you get a recount and you lose the state, then you not only do you not get the 12 delegates, you lose them. So that could be a 24 delegate swing. So Senator Cruz or the Republican establishment, who hasn't really seemed to be on board with Donald Trump as a nominee, they might seek that. And so we have to kind of keep that as a caveat right now. However, based upon what we know at this period of time, Donald Trump went 5-1 on Trump Tuesday, with the only defeat coming in Ohio to sitting Governor John Kasich. So this was a massive performance from Donald Trump. I saw an estimate on Twitter where a person said that after these March 15th states are in the books, that Donald Trump could end up with 701 delegates total. If that holds up, if that is true, that means that Donald Trump would have won 237 delegates on March 15th. And just to give you an idea of how many delegates that is, Donald Trump on Super Tuesday the first time, which was 11 different contests, I think on that day, Donald Trump won 252 delegates. So 252 delegates in 11 states. And if everything holds up from yesterday, Trump wins 237 delegates in only 6 states. That is a monster, massive performance. And I think it's extremely clear after what happened on March 15th, Donald Trump is clearly the front runner. He may be the only person in the race right now who can actually mathematically get enough delegates before the convention comes around. He won in terms of popular vote for March 15th. He got more than 1,250,000 raw votes more than did Senator Cruz. And of course, the number was even higher over Governor Kasich. Marco Rubio has essentially left the race because Donald Trump soundly defeated him in Florida. So this was just a gigantic day for Donald Trump and for the Donald Trump's movement. And I will also add that there were so many attempts put against Donald Trump's campaign in this last week, whether it was some of these protests and people thinking they might be staged protests or protesters being paid, the coverage of them, the coverage of this whole supposed incident with this female reporter and Donald Trump's campaign manager, which has since been debunked, I believe. There were all these different things swirling around, and it seemed like a very guided attempt to affect Donald Trump's campaign negatively. And yet after all of that happened, you still have Donald Trump come in yesterday and go 5-1. And not only did Donald Trump go 5-1, but Senator Ted Cruz, who is now the presumptive establishment candidate with Marco Rubio stepping aside out of the race, Senator Cruz, based on what we know with Missouri currently, he went 0 for 6. So you had Trump just do an absolute whitewash job, just wipe out the competition, and Senator Cruz couldn't even win a single state. As far as John Kasich is concerned, it's pretty simple. He's a 1 or 2 or 3 state candidate. Obviously, he cannot win enough delegates to get the nomination before the convention. Many people feel that he was only in this campaign to try to win Ohio, which he did. I think Governor Kasich is going to see if he can still get on the Pennsylvania ballot. I don't think he is currently qualified for it as regards number of signatures needed and stuff. I don't think that would be particularly effective. Now, Governor Kasich I think he was born or raised somewhere in around the Pittsburgh area. However, Pennsylvania is in Ohio. And my understanding is that some of the eastern counties of Ohio, Donald Trump did well in, meaning that John Kasich's influence appears limited to Ohio. Kasich ran a good campaign in New Hampshire. He did decently there. He did well in Vermont. He did well relatively in Michigan. But I don't think you can see John Kasich really winning another state besides Ohio. And I guess if you're the establishment and you're trying to counter Donald Trump, maybe you want Kasich to kind of, drag Trump down, I guess, in Pennsylvania. And maybe somehow Ted Cruz wins, but I think that's kind of a far-fetched scenario. So this was, if you are a Donald Trump fan, if you are with this movement that has been created that's drawing in millions of new voters to the Republican Party during this election cycle, and you are against the establishment, you are against what is referred to as the GOPE, the GOP establishment. Yesterday was a decisive day for the campaign. Donald Trump apparently won Missouri. He won Florida. He won North Carolina. He won the Northern Mariana Islands, which had held their own small caucuses, and Donald Trump won Illinois. What's interesting about this as well is that a couple of these states where the protest or staged protest took place, which was in Illinois and in Missouri, Donald Trump won. And I think he won the counties in which they took place in. That was not the case in Ohio, where the one man tried to rush the stage or whatever. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the attacks and the attempts against Donald Trump seem to be falling very flat. And the kind of the Teflon Don demeanor or appearance for Donald Trump seems more and more realistic every single day. Nothing negative sticks to him. You can't get past this guy. And I know in watching, I was able to observe his rally yesterday in Youngstown, Ohio, and I believe that his team did a specific set ordinance or a certain kind of protocol which helped them to weed out any potential protesters that might have been there. And it worked. No interruptions, no nothing. And so I think that Team Trump has already figured out how to deal with that nuisance or infiltration or whatever you want to say. Now, getting back to the delegates counts, counts. Donald Trump has already fulfilled the requirement of needing 8 states where he has gotten a majority of the delegates. That was already fulfilled with the Northern Mariana Islands, as well as Florida. Florida becoming the 9th state or contest that fulfilled that requirement, which means it's only down to Donald Trump getting the 1,237 needed delegates. If Donald Trump is over 700 delegates, as I saw put on Twitter, then he's sitting already at 56% of the needed delegates already. And let me just say, there are still, I think, 21 states still to participate in this process, not to mention smaller contests like American Samoa, and this type of a thing. Donald Trump is well on track. He is at the pace necessary to wrap up the nomination before the convention takes place. That's what it looks like right now. And as I alluded to earlier in the video, I think Donald Trump is the only candidate who is in that category. Maybe there's a small mathematical chance that Ted Cruz could still do it, but if so, today was a devastating setback to that possibility. And so look, this is an amazing moment in time. There is something happening here in America. There is a movement. There are millions of new voters coming out and coming into the Republican Party. Donald Trump himself, at his press conference that he gave after tonight's results started coming in at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, said, look, we, the Republican Party, needs to unify. We need to take advantage of all of these new voters and of this strength that the Republican Party is kind of benefiting from with the addition of candidate Trump. And I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. And I think tonight is going to go a long way towards ending these kind of apparently delusional speculations and fantasies and hopes of the Republican establishment. I think it was said tonight that Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan he may accept a presidential nomination. That seems completely out of touch with reality. That just doesn't seem. It's something that if it does become, if we do go to a brokered convention and certain things are attempted, or certain ideas or concepts put forward, like somebody like a Paul Ryan. I mean, it's not theoretically impossible that something like that could happen. However, it's such a complete disconnect with what the Republican voters are telling the establishment and are telling the party to do, that it would seem like almost political self-destruction if the Republican Party were actually to attempt to do something like that. Put bluntly, Donald Trump has a movement behind him. Paul Ryan has nothing behind him, except for maybe a couple folks on K Street and some other establishment types. That's not going to work. That's not where the juice is. And again, on an evening like tonight, you can feel it. You can see it. The results are clear. It is a wipeout. And the voters have spoken. And I think the further along we get in this process, the more the establishment is going to realize we can't try to derail what our base is telling us. No matter how much we want to do it, no matter how much we might want to guard the trough and graft that some people feel exist in Washington, D.C. and in the different political parties, you are simply taking too large of a risk with an electorate that is sending you a signal that couldn't possibly be clearer. And so, overall, a terrific night for candidate Donald J. Trump. He and his supporters are I'm sure, feeling giddy tonight. A big setback for the other campaigns. You give credit to Governor Kasich. He defended his home turf. He's not a realistic candidate. He can't possibly win in any scenario except for the kind of Paul Ryan fantasy placement, name in a hat type of scenario. But he did win tonight. You give him credit for that. He did do well in Ohio. However, the night belongs to Donald Trump, and the growing chorus is getting stronger. The public, the voters, the message is getting clearer, and it's going to be more and more difficult for anybody or any entity or group to try to resist that call, I think. So I think this evening went a significant distance towards making Donald Trump the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. So it was a great night for him. We congratulate him and his team and his family and all of his supporters throughout the United States and throughout the world. Fascinating election. I knew a lot about Donald Trump coming into this election. I respected him as a businessman, but I never thought anything like this could possibly happen. And it is simply astounding to witness. And as tonight showed, the movement is getting stronger. It is picking up pace. And it's becoming just like an irresistible force, kind of churning along like a juggernaut that cannot be stopped. That is it for now. Hope you're enjoying your evening. Hope you were able to get out and vote if you were in one of the 6 contests that took place last night. Coming up soon, I believe this Saturday will be American Samoa voting for the Republicans. And then next Tuesday, we will get the votes in Utah, which is a caucus, I believe, and the vote in the state of Arizona. Finally, and I should mention this, next Monday, Fox News is scheduled to have what is currently the final debate on the calendar for the Republican candidates. However, there has been some information put out, and I don't know if it's true or not. We'll find out, that Donald Trump may bypass that debate, may skip that debate, and instead participate in, I think, something like a forum or something for the nation of Israel. And I think from a strategic perspective, that would be a good decision by Donald Trump. He certainly doesn't need any debates. He definitely doesn't need Fox News debates, an entity which has seemed relatively antagonistic towards him. You don't need debates for the 2 states at hand. I don't think Donald Trump's going to win Utah. I'm sure he's relatively aware of that. I would expect Ted Cruz to win that state. And I think Donald Trump is in excellent position in Arizona, getting the support of people like Jan Brewer, former governor, and Sheriff Joe Arpaio. So really, if you're Donald Trump, why would you do that debate? And so we will see if this story turns out to be true and Donald Trump may skip next Monday's debate. That is it for now. Hope you are enjoying this political season. It's been very fascinating so far. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton had a huge night, and that her contest with Bernie Sanders appears essentially over as well. It will kind of see what we're seeing on the Republican side, also on the Democratic side, where it's basically one candidate and everybody else, although on the Democratic side there's only one other person besides Secretary Clinton. But stay tuned. Let's see what happens as we move forward here. I think Donald Trump is clearly in the position that he wants to be in, and he looks like he is very much on track to get the delegates that he needs before this thing could possibly go into a brokered convention in Cleveland, Ohio. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.